podcast is brought to you by Neural Media. Are you an entrepreneur or maybe a marketer who wants to grow their business through content production? Maybe you're sick of dealing with agencies or want an outsourced solution that actually fits a budget? Well, Neural Media, our business, can help you with simple and affordable content production, saving you time and money by taking away that pain of producing the content. If you want to learn more, just head to neural.com/media, which is NEURALLE.com/media. Play around with our pricing, have a look at all the different options that you have, request or consider requesting a callback from me personally. If you have a friend that runs a business or is a marketer, do send them our way. It will help us keep the lights on and producing more juicy content. Listeners to this show receive a special discount by using the promo code UNCOMMON. If you want to learn yourself as to how to create content, maybe you want to make a podcast or your very own video, just download our free series on how to create a podcast and video at the very bottom of neural.com/media. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon, the podcast that helps you build your knowledge, skills, and mindset through interviews with unique individuals. My name's Jordan Michaelides, and I'm your host. In this episode, I have for you Gerry Sakkas. Gerry is the CEO of PlaySide Studios, the largest games and app company here in Australia. This big friendly giant with his fear of sharks and flying is running one of the most, at least in my opinion, one of the most fascinating bootstrap companies in Australia. I've spoken about how transformative not just gaming but also AR will be to the way we consume media, entertainment, content in the next 2 to 3 years. And we've seen examples in everyday life from Fortnite to Pokemon Go, and I think we could possibly see a pair of Apple glasses coming out very soon. And I believe PlaySide is probably in the greatest position locally to take a hold of this change in computing. Gerry's humble attitude and work ethic are at odds with the tech industry always looking for superstars to dish out what we call hustle porn. In Gerry, you won't find a promoter at all, but an individual who leads by example, backed up, of course, by his partner in crime in his wife, Susie. This was a great episode where we covered principles, work ethic and family, the early years of building his business, a bootstrap business that is, and how he got into gaming, the influence of his wife Susie, PlaySide Studios and its business model, how AR glasses and Apple will change computing, and of course lessons learned from the marketing geniuses that are Steph Claire Smith and Laura Henshaw. Apologies for anyone watching the video. Unfortunately, we had an issue on Gerry's camera about 20 minutes in. I promise it won't happen again, but unfortunately it was just one of those situations where we've lost most of the video. For those listening on audio, if you enjoy this episode, do subscribe on your podcast app or consider leaving us a rating. All your show notes and all previous guests can be found at neural.com/podcast. It's NEURALLE.com/podcast. Thank you all for listening, our regulars for coming back, our newbies, thanks for giving us a shot and a listen. I hope you'll enjoy this conversation with Gerry Sakkas. Gerry.
Here we are.
I was having this debate with Lauren, my partner, last night. She was like, are you sure it's Gerry and not Gary? Or I'm like, come on, it's Gerry, right?
Lauren sounds like my Uber drivers at PlaySide. Every time they come up, it's a different name. But the most one is Gerry. Which just makes no sense whatsoever.
Gary, yeah.
It's like a mixture between Gary and Gerry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it can't be as bad as when people mispronounce our last. I mean, my last name's a bit of a long one, but I get that shit all the time. Yeah, same. It's fucking frustrating.
But no, it's definitely Gerry. It's just the Greek terrible way of writing it.
Now, I was thinking about things to open with, and there was 3 different things that I got from Susie.
Okay.
So apparently on an old interview you spoke about this fear of sharks, which she has no idea about.
Really? Okay.
But apparently now it's airplanes. Is this true?
It's both.
So if there was a shark airplane coming along, you'd be shitting yourself.
Yeah, that's right. An airplane in the shape of a shark. I don't know if it's sharks per se or if it's just water in general in terms of the depth of it. Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's almost the same with flying. It's like anywhere that I feel not unsafe, because if I'm on land, like I did taekwondo for 20 years. So on
wow,
land, I'm not scared of anything. So that's fine. And I'm big, and I'm not really scared of much. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe in the air or in the water, I lose that sense of sort of like,
it's control.
I can control this.
Yeah.
And that's why I hate it when people are like, flying's safer than driving. It's like, when I drive, I'm driving. Like,
I'm in control.
Exactly
At
right.
least when I'm in a car crash, I don't get a shock, because it's like,
I did
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's all it is. I think that's like in water. Realistically, if something's in there, you're gone. You can't fight it. Like you might be able to, but it's very rare chance of.
I mean,
fighting.
I know what you mean. I've had sort of residual anxiety from going on planes. It's like, oh, that little bump. Oh shit, I felt that. Like it's It's one of those things. If are you a very conscientious person? Like, do you like having your shit in order? Like, if you come to a desk, everything's got to be.
Yeah, like I'll try and. I'm a bit
everything's in
OCD.
place.
I am, and it's even like if I'm on the plane, and I'm watching a movie or something. I can't watch it if there's like a little bit of turbulence. So I just close it. Like, all right, let's just kick back for a video and wait for this to finish, and we'll keep watching the movie.
Well, that reminds me like about, I was looking, because I like to get a sense of someone's personality.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, it's so intriguing reading people's LinkedIn reviews.
Okay. Oh God, what have you got here?
I mean, they were good. They were very, very good. I mean, if you're
They're
looking
all old, I think, but yeah.
They are old. But I think it just gives you a sense as to who you are as a person. I think that, maybe you're scared of being on airplanes or whatever, but the point is it gives you this, it's a part of your personality where you like things being very thoroughly done. And that's the sense I got from, I guess I got from these reviews, but it just sort of had me thinking like, what do you think is the personality trait which has helped you the most in the last 7 or so years as you've built the business and slogged away at this thing?
It's a very good question. I think it's confidence. I think confidence is a big one. Confidence in what I do, not really as much like confidence in my appearance or who I am or anything like that. It's confidence in what I know and what I do. Mm-hmm. I'd like to think that in my mind, I say I'm the best at that. Like, that's it. So when it comes to making a game, when it comes to starting a new business, whatever it is that we do, I can back myself 100%, but I'm also smart enough to know when I'm wrong. And I think that's the sort of my best value is being able to back myself and going, no, this is what it should be. But then if I'm wrong, going, hey guys, like that was my fault. I screwed up. Like, let's do it again. Let's do it like this.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I try and push my staff to do is be like, look, like, I want this to be red, you want this to be blue. So if you want it to be blue, that's fine, but you need to own it.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, oh, no, just make it red. Like, no, I don't want to make it red. I want to make it blue now. But like, you need to be like, that's the right thing for it. And a lot of people are too scared to do that. A lot of people are scared that if it goes wrong, they're going to be like ridiculed and that's just not the case, because what you learn from being wrong that's life, really. So I'm completely happy to put all my eggs in one basket and be like, yep, this is how we're going to do it. And when it's wrong, I'll take them out and be like, all right, I screwed up. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, well, it sort of seems like you've got that clarity, I guess. Like, because I don't know about you, but I find that element of my personality which makes me conscientious means that when I come to a decision on something, I've gone through it so many times that is what actually gives me the confidence. Yeah.
I'm the same, and I sometimes get frustrated if somebody like checks me on that. They'll be like, "Oh, but have you thought of this?" I'm like, "Dude, I've thought of that 1,000 times." Like, it's like it'll just be in my head all night, like before I can sleep. It's just that idea, the thought, whatever, and then I'll come to the conclusion, be like, "Yeah." But what's happened before that in my head, like nobody understands, and that's the hardest part is sort of getting that out onto paper. And
How often are you daydreaming about work?
I don't know if it's really about, like, PlaySide now is in a position that I've set up the correct middle management, the correct upper management, that in terms of the games that we're making and things like that, they're pretty good without me. I still get very involved, but I can step back from dreaming about that stuff, which is very hard, sort of worrying about that before I go to sleep and stuff. But it's everything else we're doing now. Like myself and the two partners of PlaySide, we've got so many other things that we're doing now, and investments and other businesses and even other things within PlaySide, like the apps and stuff we're doing now. That's the stuff I think more about. Well, I kind of go, okay, think about this for a long time. Okay, it's done well. Put that there now. It's going to work. And now start thinking about everything else. That's kind of where I spend all my energy.
That wouldn't have been long either, because you pretty, like, as with all small businesses, you were you cruise along for the first 2 years really just trying to exist.
Yep.
And then you start hitting your straps, employing more people, and then all of a sudden you go from 20 to 50. I know when I was speaking to Susie, she was emphasizing that fact, like it just goes like that.
Yeah.
That classic hockey puck.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very interesting how it's hard. I can imagine it's very hard to change your mindset from worrying about everything all the time to now finding the ability to relax. I mean, one of the things that Susie spoke about was your work ethic, which I think that, for me and my own partner is something we look to a lot, because it, when you're slogging away, as you know, it's just so fucking tough with all of this. So I'm curious as to what's that been like? How have you sort of given yourself time to sit back and relax? And
to be honest, I haven't.
Yeah.
And that's probably a mistake on my own behalf. We got married and we went on a honeymoon, and that was about the only trip I've taken in 7 years.
Yeah. Well, she said like 10 years, and
10
you
years
hadn't been overseas prior to that or something.
Yeah, the last time, so I went to America for work, which was hard enough in itself with my fear of flying. We went there, I think, 3 years ago, me and my business partner, TJ. And then ever since then, he goes like every couple of months. I never go ever again. Not because I didn't like it. I actually loved it when I was there, but it was just too stressful because you're only there for a short amount of time. The whole time I'm stressing about the flight back, and I'm just like, I can't do this. So I went that. But before then, the last time I went overseas was in grade 6. We went to Greece. That was it.
Wow.
So I had to see everyone going to Mykonos every year for like 5 years when I started PlaySide. There's so much stuff was happening. The boys were going everywhere, and I was just doing PlaySide.
And just slogging away.
Yeah, and even they were going to Mykonos when I was at EA, but it's the same problem. I couldn't leave to go at that point because I had a vision of where I wanted to be in the company.
Yeah.
And if you leave in a big company like that for even 3 months, even 2 months, someone will replace you.
Yeah,
someone will step up.
It's a tough situation to be in.
It's dog eat dog. So. But
do you think that is also as well just something that's inherent? Like you've just got to sort of have that personality. Like I've been told, we were chatting before this about that anxiety stuff to do with the food intolerances, and the psychologist that I had to see related to it was like, look, you just need to chill out, man, because you just need to. And like, I feel like that is so much of a part of what it takes to run a business as well, as you can't recognize that you actually need to chill out.
Yeah. And look, I think I recognize I need to. I think it's
you recognize it, but you just can't. Like you cannot force yourself.
You can't turn off. Like I can relax, and on the weekends I can spend time with mates and stuff, but as soon as I hit that bed at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or at 12 o'clock, I've got good 2-3 hours of thinking before I can sleep. And it doesn't matter what time it is. When I wake up, same thing. When I go to the shower, same thing. It's just constant streams of thoughts. And I don't know if it's a normal thing. I don't know if it's necessarily something you need to have to be a business owner. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think mine might be a bit more full on. That's why I've never done any drugs. I've never done it because I'm almost scared as to like what would occur if that was happening while psychedelics and stuff were at play. So it's
God, that sounds like something I've said a million times.
Yeah. It's a bit terrifying, right? But like,
do you get that from your parents? Is like, where does this come from? Is your, one of your grandparents like this, or one of your parents?
I bet you have no idea. My dad is very intelligent, but he never, I guess, took the route of technology or anything like that. They my grandparents came here same as everyone else on a boat. In the I don't know what would have been 40s or 50s, I don't know, and. Same with my mum and dad. They got married very early, and it's sort of like they just found whatever jobs they could find. So mum worked at a chemist, dad worked at Safeway, and that was it. But dad is very intelligent and very artistic.
Yeah.
So I think I get that from him, but there's definitely something more there that I haven't seen. Some of our sort of, like my dad's cousins and stuff, some of them have written books. One of them was very big in IVF and stuff like that. So there's obviously something there, but I can't pinpoint like who I'm closest to because I kind of feel like I'm a mixture of everything. I'm definitely not the smartest person, but there's a bit more than just creativity going on.
If you look back at your own childhood and think about lessons learned, is there something that really stands out? Like as an example, my dad's side of the family is Greek, and they've sort of got that immigrant mentality, and I spent years at their workplace, like sitting on printing machines and like at 15, I could do all the little bits required to run one of those big, like one of those massive 6-color printing machines that you print like newspapers and books on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and I just sort of learnt this hard work ethos through osmosis. It wasn't that they ever said it. It was just you saw it. So I'm curious, is there something that really stands out to you?
Look, there's nothing like that. And like, there's nothing in terms of, I was squeezing lemons on the side of the road on lemonade stands. Like, I think I said this on Chris's podcast. Like, I'm not the entrepreneur role model.
Yeah. You're more the creative type.
Yeah, and but even then, it's like, I guess I don't really like the word entrepreneur. I think anyone can kind of use it now and it gets thrown around. But going back sort of to the past, nothing ever happened early on that would have said that this is where I was going to be. And I feel like the only thing that really happened was, I guess, my life and sort of what happened with my sort of parents' divorce, and we didn't have much money, and there was, I was working from the age of probably 14 in like retail and stuff like that, hospitality. I worked at Macca's for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think knowing the whole time that we weren't well off, and that at some point in the next 10 years, I was going to have to find a way to make a lot of money. And knowing that had to happen. There was no if or but. That was it. Because if I didn't, there was nothing to fall back on at all. It would literally be, you're broke now. Your parents can't afford to give you any money. And yeah, sure, you've got somewhere to stay if you need to live somewhere, but that's not going to do anything at the age of, say, 27 or onwards. So I knew very early on at like 20 that something had to give. I had to do something big. And at that point, I just had no idea what it was. I knew the education system didn't work for me whatsoever. And I knew there was something wrong there that I couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
And I think it was just that they were trying to teach me things. They were trying to teach me how to work for somebody.
Yeah.
And it just
that's what
didn't work, right?
Yeah.
Like it made no sense to me why I was learning algebra and geometry and, I did literature and English and psychology. And I'm like, why am I learning any of this and why does any of this matter? And it was always a question in my head every day.
Yeah. And
it was only until I left and I did unbelievably well at university in one thing. It was like, right, this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
So
that's so funny because I remember
crazy.
When I was like 16 or 17, I was so frustrated with school that I wrote like a thing, and I bought like one of those moleskin notebooks, and literally it's the only diary entry I'd ever done to that day.
Yeah.
Like at 16 or 17. And I was just like, why the fuck can't there be like a degree that covers this thing I like and that thing? Like, why can't you do all these things? And then, like it's just so funny now where we live in this world where you can literally learn anything based on that power of the internet.
Yep.
And then go and start applying it somewhere.
Yeah, like university realistically, aside from...
I can't see universities existing in the next 15, 20 years.
I think for now, even in that long, I think it'll be more for law, becoming a doctor surgeon stuff.
Yeah. Research.
Everything else you won't need.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And what I learned in my course in that 3 years, I probably could have learned in a month on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like that's how little it was. So, and that's not to bag that university. It's like literally every uni is the same when it comes to games or arts or whatever. It's just, you're just relying on a teacher that realistically would be working in the industry if they were good enough to work in the industry, but they're not. So they have to teach, and then they're teaching the kids the worst things. And I see it now when I go to universities. I'm like, this is really bad stuff.
Yeah.
So if they just sat at home, the kids that are good that I hire are all self-taught. That happen to be at the university. That's how I found them, which is the one benefit of it. But they're all
doing stuff on the side.
Oh yeah, they're the ones that stand out every time. They've done all the YouTube courses. They've bought courses and done them. They're just naturally talented. The ones that just go to uni and think they're going to learn something is
and come out
never
with
them.
the job.
Never them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that also says a lot about their personality generally.
100%.
Because
So
who wants to hire someone who just is expecting something?
Exactly right.
So, but it's funny because, I was looking at so you did your Bachelor of Digital Arts and Gaming.
Yep.
But I was just curious, like, when did this whole idea about gaming come about? Or maybe tell us, what was the first ever game that you played regularly?
Wow. I think the first one I can remember really playing would have been Ninja Turtles on Nintendo. Nintendo 1, like the NES.
The original.
Yeah, the original NES. And then it was probably like Donkey Kong Super Nintendo, GoldenEye, Nintendo 64, Legend,
Classic.
Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Best game ever. And then
did you ever buy? By the way, just with Zelda, did you ever buy the
gold one?
The gold one. But did you ever buy like the guidebook?
Yeah, like the super thick things.
The thick
yeah,
thing.
I
It was
had
like
all
300
of them. Yeah.
pages.
And used to ring the Nintendo hotline. It was like $20 a minute. It was so bad.
Oh, we couldn't afford that.
Yeah.
No way.
Oh,
My
I couldn't
dad
either.
would
I was
rip
in
me
trouble,
a new one. He'd be like, "Who's that?" He'd pick up the bill like, "Who the
Can you believe they would have made a lot of money off that back in the day? The
I
Nintendo
know,
hotline.
right?
So yeah, I had all that stuff. And look, I definitely liked games, but I don't think I really necessarily liked them any more than any other kid would have. I don't think it was like that full on. I think it was more, I liked arts. I was actually quite big in drama as well at school.
Okay.
I was all the creative stuff, media, all that I was really good at. Everything else apart from say English, I was terrible at.
Right.
And it's just because I didn't have. It was more just I just didn't want to learn it all, and I'd just be sitting in class and it would just be going through one ear at the other. And so I think my dad saw that early on. Mum and dad. Mum wanted me to be a primary school teacher because she just wanted me to go to uni, and that was the lowest sort of the enter score you needed. And dad was like, I went to this expo and blah, 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 and I saw this, and it's a games degree, and apparently game designers make 130 grand. And so I heard 130 grand. I'm like, I need this. Right? So that was the first time I was like, all right, this is how I'm going to make money. Got into the industry, turned out it's definitely not that good, and that it's not going to make me that much money. And so, yeah, that's where I think it started, the uni course.
Yeah, and I know...
That was the first course ever in games as well in Australia.
Yeah, and RMIT has always been... It seems like it's been
artsy.
Sort of the...
Journalism and...
Yeah, journalism, what is it, like comm design, design in general, industrial design, all that sort of stuff. It's always been there.
Yeah, they're definitely not like legal.
It's not like Melbourne.
Sort of no,
yeah,
no.
Yeah. It's and so you went there. You worked at Visceral Studios, which was EA's Australian branch, I guess you could call it.
Yep.
And that's when the redundancy came along. Now I was thinking about this. Is the timing of this really what we should thank the creation of PlaySide from?
No, like a lot of the time I say it is, but realistically, I was going to leave anyway.
Yeah.
So I think actually I can fully pinpoint it, and it sounds stupid, but it was actually the exact day that Steve Jobs died. So
Really?
I remember I watched the Stanford talk that he did, and that whole talk just changed everything. And so I was literally at my desk at EA. I got in the morning and I found out Steve Jobs died, who was like my idol, and all I ever wanted was to be like him. And so I sat down. I was literally almost crying at my desk at EA, and I had the headphones on. I watched the speech, and it was basically about, stop living someone else's life, like do what you love. And if you're not loving it, in the morning, ask yourself, am I loving what I'm doing when I go to work? And if the answer is no too many times in a row, which for me it had been, then leave. And it had been because by that point, it would have been like 4 or 5 years. I was lead designer of the whole studio. I'd moved my way up from tester to lead designer, which at EA is almost impossible. And I was running a console game which had changed 100 times, and I could tell it was about to be shut down. And I got up, I just took the headphones off, and I looked at TJ, like I stepped up and looked over the thing, and TJ he went to uni with me. I got him a job at EA, and now he works with me now. And I said to him, I'm leaving. And he's like, what do you mean you're leaving? And I'm like, I'm out. And he's like, no, just listen, just relax, sit down, let's think about it. And we spoke a bit, and he's just like, look, just let's stay a couple more weeks and see what happens. And look, if I'd left, it probably would have been bad because I wouldn't have had any redundancy.
Yeah.
I would have had no way to really start PlaySide in terms of I wouldn't have had my own money to live off. And luckily I stayed, got like nothing, man. It was like 15, 20 grand redundancy. But for me, that was enough to live a year at that point of when I was like 24, which was the first year of PlaySide when I didn't pay myself anything, and I lived off like 20 grand, racked up a 10 grand credit card bill, and that was it.
That's a very good investment though. $30,000 down payment for what is a business.
Me. Yeah, so I had the other boys put in some money for the actual business.
Of course.
But for myself, not paying myself, just hopefully, that was my down payment, was here's my salary for the year that I would usually get paid, times like minus half of that. And that's what my, sort of investment is to begin with, is my time.
But just think about that now, like today, or since your interview with the Herald Sun, supposedly around 8 million in revenue, 50 staff.
Yeah.
That's a pretty damn good investment, man.
It's done all right.
It's done very, very well.
Yeah.
I want to come back to something, well, actually, maybe I'll touch on that afterwards, but those early years, we briefly spoke about that. There's a little bit more water there if you want.
Beautiful.
We spoke about those early years, those first 2 to 3 years of business, and you had that first title, Catch the Arc.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun looking at like the trailers of that on YouTube.
It was a lot of fun making them, yeah.
I can imagine Yeah, like, I mean, it was interesting because I saw the launch. There was a bunch of different negative comments, which I wonder how much that drove you during that cycle as well. But I just wanted you to give the audience a sense of what it was like the first few years. You know, you basically put out that title and then it's on to the next one and just trying to survive through that stage, I guess.
Yeah. The games industry at that point was in a very, very rough state. There were all these sort of like wannabes coming up, starting studios, and I was, I guess, one of them. So to everyone who had already kind of been in the industry for that long, they were all like, you can't do this.
Yeah.
It's never going to work. It doesn't matter where you've worked, whether it's EA or whatever. And at that point, when I left EA, when it shut down, I was even though I was the lead designer by that point, which was just a wanky title they gave me, I was the youngest person there. Me and TJ were the youngest people there. Okay. So everyone at that whole studio, I was the junior, really, even though I was the lead of design. And so everyone was kind of like, this isn't going to work. Like, good luck to you. Go and make an iPhone game and whatever. So, as you said, like some of the comments were very negative, like, oh, you know, this Catch the Arc game looks like crap, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Not that it looks like crap, but like it's just another runner game or whatever they were saying.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it was so funny. There was this one guy, James Trun, who had this piece of feedback.
Just shouting him out, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's so funny looking at that in hindsight because it says one thing. It just starts off with one thing you need to learn as an independent developer. Okay. Now, I don't think no one should learn at all. Yeah. But I just find it so funny when no one who's ever made a game or runs a business starts making comments like that. Yeah. And I can just imagine, I can just see you there back then at that point, starting the business and seeing that comment and just being like, fuck you, man, I'm going to do it just for you. Yeah.
I still remember, I don't remember his exact comment, but I remember that Q&A I did on Kotaku or whatever it was, and I think everyone was so focused. This is the thing. Everyone in the games industry in general is so focused on making one game. My focus was on creating a company. And so when they were saying this game's not going to work, this and that, I'm like, I don't think you understand what I'm trying to do here. And so my whole goal with the original game was not to make millions of dollars off the original game. It was to create the best quality game with a story, characters, and all that sort of stuff back when the games industry really had like Temple Run and Fruit Ninja and Angry Birds. It was all very small. Some games back then did have a lot of really good graphics, but we're talking like iPhone 3GS.
Yeah, it was like 2D stuff.
Yeah. So I wanted to come out and be like, this is a AAA quality game. It's taken us a year to make, and there was only 3 of us, but still, we put everything into it, story, and everyone loved it. And it ended up coming out. It did really well enough. It paid off our first year of what we'd sort of put in. So we were back to square one again, which was fine. But what we had achieved was we had gotten out the title that was going to show everyone why we were going to be the best in mobile in this country. And what ended up happening very quickly after that was we just started getting emails about, hey, we want you to make our game. And it was from the big boys. So that's how we started. Yeah,
because that to me, in starting our own business, has been the hardest thing. People say the hardest thing to do is the first sale.
Yes.
I would strongly disagree. Yep. I would actually say it's the sale after the first sale.
I agree. The first sale was just a fluke usually.
Yeah, it normally is. Yeah. Exactly. And we've had this where the first sale was someone that contacted us through the podcast. Yep. And then the next one was people within our own network. And then after that, when you start selling people that don't know you, they don't know the podcast, they don't know anything about you, that's when it sort of starts to click that this thing has potential.
Yep.
So that's very interesting. How long after that first title?
So the first title was Moshi Carts, there used to be a brand called Moshi Monsters, which was a big UK brand. I think they were doing like 70 mil revenue a year, and they were going like this because they were a big web game back when like Neopets was a thing.
Oh yeah.
And so we were trying to bring them to mobile, but they were so focused on how they wanted to do it. Anyway, we ended up doing it, didn't do well. And while we were doing that, Nickelodeon reached out to us and they were like, hey, we've got SpongeBob movie coming out. We want you to do that. And that's when I was like, all right, this is the one. Because Moshi Carts was great, kept us running for a little bit, wasn't much money. But SpongeBob was going to be the one where once you've done a SpongeBob game or you've done someone with the caliber of SpongeBob or Nickelodeon, it was Nickelodeon, Paramount and someone else. Once you've done that, you can hit up Warner Brothers, you can hit up Disney, you can do all this sort of stuff. You don't even have to hit them up, they'll hit you up because at that point you've now done a proper, branded game. And that's when I started to see this whole sort of outlook of, hey, you know what, work for hire is actually going to be a big part of what we do. And so we'll do a lot of work for hire. We'll also reinvest that money into original IP and we'll just go back and forth and see whatever's working the best at the time and just make money that way.
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot because we thought that we would make money just off our own IP, like it's sort of similar. You make podcasts for yourself, or you make podcast video for other people. You make games for yourself, or you make games for other people.
Yeah.
So you literally just think, all right, it's whatever's working for me at the moment. Like, I really want to do this idea. I think this is where things are going. Let's test this out.
Yeah, and I think now, like, I don't see us as particularly just a games company. I think we do so much more, and I would see us more as like a tech company, and whatever sort of comes. Look, we're not going to make your business card, and we're not going to make your website. Do you know what I mean? I think it's still in the realm of big things for big companies, or for ourselves. But for me, it's all about pushing innovation. You know, we've done everything with virtual reality, augmented reality, whether it's apps, subscription apps, games, like online multiplayer. It's everything that you can do, we've done it. And we've broadened the portfolio so much that anybody can come to us and be like, okay, cool, we want you to make this game. We've got this much budget. Can you do it? And without even asking, they know that the answer is yes. So yeah.
I want to come to PlaySide in a moment. Before we get to there, I covered Susie a lot before.
Okay.
I asked her, what does she respect the most out of you? And I think at the time she mentioned something about what actually attracted her to you was singing in some way at her 21st birthday or something like that. But all of that just had, and that you were sort of naturally open and you had this sort of creative attitude. But I was more intrigued, obviously she's been there over the years as you've done all these things and slogged away, and you haven't had time to go overseas. So, I mean, what is it that you respect about her? What have you learnt from her?
As I'm sure you know from sort of emailing her, she's very, very loving.
Yeah.
She would die for sort of me. And I think that I don't think anyone could love anyone as much as Susie loves me. Like, whenever I say love you more back, I know that she technically loves me more. So it's just something, she's very motherly without even having a child. Like, she's just very caring. And I think what you basically said is true. Like, she was there when I had nothing. It was the beginning of PlaySide doing well. So I still hadn't paid myself really for 2 years.
You had a Jeep, banged up Jeep?
Had a Jeep. The Jeep got impounded. She actually helped me pay for, it got like, I hadn't paid my... The sheriff was after me, right? So the sheriff got me, locked my tyres up, and I had no money in my bank account. And Susie, at that point, we'd only been seeing each other for like 2 months. She actually gave me money to pay for it.
Fuck.
And we're talking like 4 or 5 grand. And
whoa,
so
Jesus,
she gave me that money to begin with. I paid her back very quickly there. But at that point, she knew that I had nothing. So she knew I had no money. I was some guy driving a Jeep talking about how I'm going to be the biggest thing in games and apps. And she believed it. And within 2 years afterwards, I guess I proved to her that I was right.
Wow.
But she took that risk, and I think she must have seen in me. She saw in me what I had been seeing in myself, but everyone else had been seeing something else. And I think knowing that someone else was now seeing that clarified it in my mind and just made me go 10 times harder.
Yeah.
So that story was like no one even knows that.
Really?
Yeah. So there you go. Now everyone knows.
Person.
Yeah. Not a single person.
I got to say, for everyone listening and watching as well, we're going to link your proposal to her on.
Oh, God.
And mind you, did you ever think if you were going to propose that you'd have to license the proposal?
Man, that thing's had like 20 million views, I think,
it's
all
outrageous.
collected now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best Vines, we'll link it. It's such a fucking good idea.
Yeah.
And you can see the shock in her face. And
watch it back, like anyone that's watching it, watch it back like 10 times and look at a different person every time. It's so much fun.
We've done that. And Lauren's like, oh, fuck, look at her reaction.
Yeah.
Like
it's everyone in the room. Everyone's completely different. It's so funny.
Yeah, you got like a few people in the background saying, say yes, say yes. It's so good. By the way, was that Joe Hashem? I thought
so Joe was next to me. Joe knew because he was doing the Kris Kringle for that night. So that Kris Kringle wasn't from me. It was just somebody had given her that gift and she didn't know who it was. It was a Kris Kringle gift. So she's opening thinking they're like shoes, whatever. So Joe had to know because he had to give her the right one. So it was like he was the only person that knew all night, and he kept coming up and he's like, look, mate, have a scotch, you'll be all right. I'm just like, no, man, I can't even drink. And he's just laughing all night, just kept coming up trying to have a drink. So
it's so funny when you propose. I proposed last year. Friends of ours just got engaged, and I was discussing the same thing with the guy. How fucking nervous you get.
I know, it's crazy.
I could have vomited.
Yeah.
And it's like I've been with my partner for 10 years.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
And I was still nervous.
It was pretty intense. Like I knew that I was going to be doing in front of other people, but like I've done talks in front of like big unis and stuff. Like it's not that. It was just the full, like once you say this, that's it.
You can't take it back.
And for a guy, that's massive, right?
Yeah.
So you actually do get really nervous. And I don't usually get nervous at all. It was the one night I was like actually physically ill of like, I need to get this over with. I knew from the morning until it was like midnight when when that happened.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was all night. We were trying to get to Christmas Eve. So Christmas night.
Okay.
So we could actually, Christmas morning, I guess. Yeah.
Well, we were traveling in Japan. This is why we got back to get married in Japan. Because we were traveling in Japan and I had to hide it in my bag and hope that she, for some reason, wouldn't decide to, I don't know, put some extra socks in my bag and, oh, what's this little thing here? I can't believe that she didn't find it. That was fucking lucky.
That's crazy.
All right, let's talk about PlaySide.
Okay.
You mentioned before of it being a tech company, but I think in a nutshell, what I summarized it was as a studio.
Yep.
Now, it doesn't seem that you do just gaming anymore, as you said. It's primarily based on apps, but there's other things in there as well. So, I mean, maybe just for the people listening, give them a quick, spiel on what you tell people at the moment.
So when it comes to the games company, we're the largest one now that's Australian owned.
Yep.
So most of the developers in the studio are working on games, and we've got some really big ones coming out. Actually, so it's beta launch now, so I can talk about it. So once again, no one knows this. My biggest dream, as I said, the first game I ever played was Ninja Turtles. So we were actually launching a Ninja Turtles running game.
Okay.
And that's been one that I've begged Nickelodeon to do for the last 6 years. And we keep pitching for it, never getting it, pitching for it, never getting it. And we finally got it.
Is this AR or 3D?
No, this is on the phone, but super high quality. Really, really cool game. I think it's beta at the moment on Android. So it won't come out for a few more months, but it's really cool.
Yep.
So it's based on the current Ninja Turtles TV show. So there's that. So almost everyone works on console games. We've got a bunch of people working on the apps now. Okay. So the apps is a relatively new thing. So obviously the girls. So my wife's sister was friends with Laura Henshaw, who is massive health fitness guru on Instagram. Her best friend, Steph Claire Smith, is one of the biggest Instagram influencers in Australia, 1.4 million subscribers, whatever it is on Instagram. Together they own a business called Keep It Cleaner. And so I think about a year ago I messaged them and I'm like, hey, see you doing this Keep It Cleaner stuff. If you want an app, let me know. And they were like, look, we've already got someone making the app, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, cool. So because we were friends with them. I was friends with Laura, so I was like, all right, if they're making it, I don't want to sort of get involved. And then about a year after that, Laura messaged me. She's like, hey, you know about that app? Let's talk. So we, whatever happened in the past happened with that sort of other company. We got involved and I told them from day one, I'm like, we are going to make this thing huge. Like that. My goal is, I just believe in their message so much. And their message is basically, this is not about losing weight. It's not about fitness, getting stronger, all this sort of stuff. It's about living a healthy life, being really happy with yourself, and it's almost completely directed at women. And for me, that was so much more important than almost everything else on the App Store that I was like, this has to be massive. Because obviously it's going to make a lot of money, but how many people's lives it will change is dramatic in its effect. So, and you can already see it, like the amount of girls that just do like testimonials,
it's fucking
literally
nuts.
It's insane, right?
Half of their stories at times is these testimonials.
Yeah,
it's just nuts.
And it's crazy. It
must be overwhelming as well.
When we watched, they just put out a video I think last week of a whole bunch of girls for International Women's Day.
Yeah,
I legit almost cried. Me and Laura were sitting there watching this video for the first time. I legit almost cried because it was actually really emotional, knowing that. Games are great, but you're not necessarily changing people's lives. There are maybe some kids that get bullied that play your game, and that's their sort of fortress of solitude. But with something like this, you're actively affecting people in such a positive way, and it's amazing. Yeah. So that feels good,
And you've had so there was that as well as the Banter app.
Yep. So Banter's another one. Banter, the boys got Banter done by another developer, and it was okay. But in order for it to compete against Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Snapchat, it needs to be like boss.
Yeah.
So what we're doing with Banter is going to be insane. And look, I've had 15 people pitch me a messaging app, and I've said no to every single one. And even originally with Banter, I was like, man, how are we going to compete against Snapchat or WhatsApp or anything like that? But honestly, I think we've got a decent chance. I think what we're going to do is really revolutionize the sort of gamification of messaging. And look, everyone says that, and everyone says, sort of has tried it, but it just looks really cool, and I think it's a fun platform. We're just doing lots of cool stuff. So I kind of, you'll see very soon what we're doing. And I think it's going to be a platform that we build upon over the next year.
Yeah,
it's not saying we just leave.
It's one of the apps I haven't been able to Is it available to download?
It was. We've just taken it off the store, I think.
Yeah, because I was trying to play around with some of these apps. I was really excited as well by AR Dragon.
Yes.
I feel like this could be, and I think you were saying things in this interview with the Herald Sun as well about where AR is going and how that's sort of the next interface of computing.
Yep.
And I think this to me feels like it could be as big as Neopets of AR.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've got this sense that the way that it looks, the way that people engage it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Look, we wanted to make an app very well knowing that AR was not in a place where it was going to make us a lot of money. We just wanted to be the first people to make the killer AR app, the same way that the first people made the first sort of iPhone app. They remember that one that used to drink the beer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys probably made no money, right? But they were the first ones. And it's like we wanted to get in there and do that the same way Angry Birds did it for mobile. And then when AR was ready, we're going to be the ones that everyone remembers. So when ARKit launched, we were the first game. For the first 5 months or maybe even longer than that, we accounted for 30% of all AR downloads, Jesus. AR Dragon. So it's huge, right? And that's still only like 3 to 4 million around that. But when you think about IKEA, for instance, and they had that furniture app and there was all these other really big AR apps, the fact that many people played with this Dragon, where I know AR is going, if we can then be the first to launch AR Dragon again on glasses or whatever's next, that's the whole goal. So it was just to get it out there for now, keep it updated, make sure people are sort of playing it, and then when the next thing is, we just smash it, and that's when we make the money.
And is it freemium or is it purely free?
It's basically free. That one there is completely free if you want to just do it as a free game, but you can pay for things in it. So
so it is. It's
freemium, but it's not locked off. In other words, so you can play the game completely without ever having to pay.
Yeah,
we're not going to say, when you get to level 10, you've got to pay $1 or anything. It's just like if you want to put a funny hat on it, you can. If you want to watch an ad a few times, you get like a specific color. Yeah, but that's pretty much it.
I can see the inspiration from Fortnite there. That's exactly. Great, and I think that's where things are going, and I prefer that model as well. Anyway, because it allows you. I mean, you put it this way. I said it to a friend when I first started playing Fortnite that maybe for the majority of people they won't get the 100, 120 that you normally do for a Call of Duty, but basically everyone is spending roughly $40 to $50 per person. Yep. So it's a lower price point.
I think it's about $80.
I think
it's around $80 average, which is
it's gone
crazy. Up. Yeah, and that's lifetime value.
Yeah,
I reckon I've spent about $2,000 on Fortnite.
Really?
And it's that.
I've spent easily
that today thing that they do,
yeah.
man. It's like not knowing when this skin's coming back. I've got to buy it today.
Fucking hell.
So it's that list. It's like you've got 5 things you can buy today. You can't buy anything else. But if you don't buy them today, it's gone for a while. And it might not be back till Christmas next year or something. Like that's such a mental game that it plays on people. It's got no benefit in the game whatsoever. It's just a cool looking thing, and once you start collecting the different skins and all that sort of stuff, it's a genius system.
It's social capital.
Oh man, it's crazy.
It's like living in the real world.
Yeah,
like,
I've got
like
the latest
Sims.
skin. Yeah, exactly.
With business models, do you if you were to consider the split of revenue, you obviously don't want to get into specifics, but on rough percentages, do you think the bulk of it is in freemium elements of the games that you make, or do you look at it like we make the game as a showcase and then we make the client work in this style that we've done before?
So I think now it's very much about making money for the clients.
Okay.
Back in the day, it was more about we want to make pretty games with Batman in it, and we don't necessarily care too much about if the game makes money. In fact, most of the games we did for Warner Brothers, if not all of them, were free. They were just to market the movie. Right. So Lego Batman, for instance, had I think it was like over 30 million downloads, and it didn't make a cent because they wanted to promote the movie. But if they had made it into an actual game, it would have made millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But I don't think they necessarily cared. The movie probably made billions, so it doesn't matter.
30 million downloads.
30 million downloads. So,
fuck.
Yeah. So that Cars, which we did with Disney, that was definitely one that we did together to make money. But going forward, it's all about. It's so much more than just making the game now, which is where I think a lot of the studios sit. They can just make the game. We've got the business models down. We know what makes money, whether it's ads, rewarded video, the placement of everything, how to keep people playing for 30 days. That's the biggest thing in mobile is day 1 retention, day 7 retention, and day 30. That's like the metric that everyone plays by. But it's all about soft launching it, tweaking the game, seeing those numbers go up. We've got the whole package now. So people come to us now because they know they're going to get a quality game, but more so they're going to make a lot of money and the players are going to be retained. So you can keep working on this game for 2-3 years. And I think that's what people need now.
Okay.
Because the studios are putting up big money for it. So they need to see that paid back almost immediately.
And do you think studios, I mean, maybe it's more so studios like Disney, I don't know if you'd agree with it, but like, because Disney is really good at merchandising the shit out of a movie. Like I'm basically praying that Disney buys the Game of Thrones franchise so they can just fucking
They've bought everything else. They may as well buy HBO.
Because they'll just like shill out a shit ton of,
merch,
prequels and all this stuff that comes out afterwards.
Like what they've done with Star Wars.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I know
me too.
The purists are like, oh, it's not like this.
It.
I love it. I just want more and more stories.
Yeah,
so,
same.
I hope it's going to be intriguing to see whether they do more and more in that space.
Yeah, and look, I don't think games are going nowhere. They're just going to change a lot. Like once these glasses come out, whenever it is in the next couple of years, it's going to change the whole gaming landscape. So how that's going to look, I still have no idea.
Yeah.
But traditional mobile games will be very different, and I think too many people just they feel secure with what's happening right now and don't look to the next 3 years, which in tech is
everything.
Insane. Yeah.
Well, just on that, you covered that in the Herald Sun interview about how we're moving into this, you have your Apple glasses, your AirPods and a watch.
Yep.
Where you mentioned before about glasses, do you think anyone in particular comes out with it first? Do you think it's Apple?
I think other people might come up with it first, but Apple is no longer a tech company. They're a luxury brand.
Yeah.
So when Android does something, or when Google does something, or Samsung, or whoever it is, they might have the tech for it. It's not cool. You're not going to put it on your face. So that's why the Apple Watch killed the Samsung Gear. The Samsung Gear probably had maybe better tech to begin with.
Yeah.
But it's not Apple. So you're not cool. Apple's like Nike, right? So I think if they do glasses, I think they would be very smart to probably partner with brands the same way they did with Hermes for the watches. So they'd have their own line, and then they'd probably partner with Nike to do a sports. By the way, I know nothing. That's why I can even come up with this stuff. Because if I did know, I'd probably be shot. So I would say they should do their own line. Then they'd have the Nike line, Louis Vuitton, YSL.
And Ray-Ban or something like that.
Exactly. And it's just see-through glasses. Everyone's got them. And that's the future. By the way, when I say this is the future, I have absolutely no doubt this is the future.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty like I'm an Apple shareholder. I've believed in Apple for a while. I bought in just probably like September 2016 when they were getting smashed for like bad iPhone sales. And like literally they know the average unit price kept going up and up. But I think there's a great blog called Above Avalon, and they cover this stuff really well, and how you can just see that thing with the watch. People really, really underestimated the watch.
I agree.
The first one came out, they got their use case, they repivoted it, and now it was a health lifestyle thing.
And they still sold millions of them.
Yeah.
Like everyone was like, oh, it failed. I'm like, they still sold millions of the things.
Well, Fitbit is dead.
Yeah.
They're shit.
They've crushed everyone. Nike had to stop making the watch thing they were making, so they stopped.
Garmin?
Garmin. So, look, you can't count Apple out. I think going forward, it's sort of Apple, Amazon. I think Amazon really suffers with the hardware side of things, but Amazon as a company are just an absolute beast. And what they're going to do to the retail space and all that sort of stuff, that's where they're going to succeed.
Yeah.
But Apple as a hardware company, as a shareholder, the second those glasses come out and they start doing well, it's like the iPhone all over again.
Yeah.
It would you'd be stupid not to have money in them.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't think anyone's going to understand the difference. The phones as we know them now, I don't even know whether we'll need them. I think everything will be voice and gesture activated. We might have them as a way to like still look at. I don't know. I don't know what we wouldn't really need them as it grows.
I just think like, and you said it in this interview, and it's the same thing that's been said in Above Avalon and all these blogs. And what I've always thought is like like your neck. People have bad posture.
We think this is normal. Just going, oh yeah, no, it makes no sense.
No,
your phone rumbles. You do that. You go, okay, it says I got a message. You swipe, you do this, you do that, and then you can read the message.
Yeah.
When it's just going to go, bloop, thing I said this, gone.
Or you'll just have some voice activation. I think that's why we're obviously biased because we do podcasts, but we've started to experiment with Alexa and stuff like that. And I think that's going to be pretty cool.
I agree.
These the idea of voice SEO and all that sort of stuff.
What won't be cool is when they kill us all, but for now, we'll let them order our groceries or something.
When the robots come for us, we're all fucked.
Yep.
I just want to jump back to Laura and Steph.
Yes.
I think Steph and Laura in particular, Steph, just simply by her following, is probably one of the smartest marketers in this generation, I think.
Yep.
And I'm just curious as to what you've learned working with those two girls about marketing.
I think, look, it's probably not so much what I've learned about marketing, but you're right. They are geniuses at how they work. A lot of other bloggers and a lot of other influencers, models, whatever, they're too scared to promote their product. Most of the time because the product's nothing that special and they probably can't promote it all the time. The girls will promote their product every day, but it's because they want as many people as possible to have it.
Or it's useful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you're not selling
that you can
a lipstick,
use.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's actually something that people can benefit from. And a lot of people are too scared to do that on their Instagram. They think they'll go down in followers, all that sort of stuff. If anything, you go up in followers once your followers all join that program and now they're all actually part of your community.
Yeah.
So it works in your favor as long as you've got something to drive them to.
Yeah.
But what I've learned from them is probably more so just how much they care for their customers. It's something that is, I guess, foreign for a game developer. Not that you don't care about your customers, but with games, you've got 30 million of them, right? So you can't care about every time someone sends you a text being like, hey, it just crashed on my device. It's like, well, okay, like we already know. We've got a stat thing that tells us that yesterday it crashed 500 times on this device. So we already do all that sort of stuff. So you're a bit separated on the App Store from customers. Console's very different. Console, you really need to worry about your customer and there's blogs being written about everything and all that sort of stuff. But with apps, it's a bit different. The girls will get a email from somebody saying like, I went on a run yesterday and halfway through the run tracker stopped and this happened, and they'll literally reply and be like, all right,
really?
Tell us where it happened. We're doing this. We've told the team we're going to work on my fire. And we get 10, 20 of them a day because the app works really well. So we don't get as many now. Back in the beginning, when we had the website launched, we didn't build the website, but the website, the app were out. It was like mayhem in the first couple of days. They were literally writing back to every single thing.
Fucking hell.
So it's a lot, man. But the customers are so much better. Like they're so loyal for it.
Yeah.
That I don't know. It's just anything I tell Laura, for instance, like Steph. Me and Steph are very similar. She definitely still cares a lot more than I do. But Laura is sort of full mum specs. Like I'll be like, Laura, why don't we put a thing in the app where you can choose your kilos and then you can update it every now and then and you can sort of see a graph of how much weight you've lost. She's like, no, we can't do that because it's not about losing weight. It's about this. It's about that. I'm like, all right. So that's how she's about everything. And it just shows in the app. The app is the most pure version of the thoughts in sort of their heads.
So in a way, it's almost reinforced the principled approach that you would take yourself in your own business.
Yeah.
And seeing it by seeing someone else do it.
Yeah. Which is, that's the whole thing. You never stop learning, right?
Yeah.
And, we're all really good friends now. And just as people, man, they're just, I don't know, everyone's always like, oh, what's Steph and Laura like? I'm like, they're probably the best people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Whereas people would be expect you to say something bitchy about them or something. I'm like, there's literally nothing bad I can say about these people. So,
yeah. I wonder how many
it's crazy.
questions. It's funny because I found out about PlaySide and you through, I think maybe Steph posted on her story.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's funny. They really promote things well.
Yep.
When they do it well. It
Genuine.
doesn't feel like they're trying to just throw something in your face.
Yeah, and they'll literally turn down massive branded deals if it doesn't align with what they believe in, and if they don't like the product. And that's the type of influencers you want, influencing the 13-year-olds of our generation. So
has it changed your belief about how you market your own IP'd games? Would you primarily go the route of influencer now?
Not for games, but for apps, 100%.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of apps in the lineup, and almost all of them are in a similar sort of idea to keep it cleaner in terms of not fitness. Other industries that have got massive influencers in those industries. So yeah, I know.
It's one of those things when sometimes if I'm drinking too much tea, I'll just start cackling.
Yeah, just dying. No, but yeah, that's definitely the goal now for this year. Is apps in completely different genres with big influencers.
So you've spoken a lot about the future and this year being a big year.
Yeah.
And I know you can't probably
every
tell me much.
Every year's a big year. Every year. If you follow me for long enough, you'll see it, yeah.
I like that because it sets things up. You're in a way, you're putting yourself out there with a goal. So, and I saw there was a photo somewhere, and now I'm following the two photographers who set it up, but it's you and Donkey Kong or something like that on one of the buildings, Aeon or something like that.
Yeah.
So what have you got planned?
How can I sort of... Okay, so...
What can you tell us?
All I can tell you is this. So just trying to think how I can tell you this. We've got a big brand launching soon, which is something... So I invested in the esports company, Big Esports.
That's right, yeah.
And that was our sort of first forte into the esports sort of area, which is insane. And I fully back it and think it will be as big as normal sports in the next decade. Through that, we're doing a massive influencer thing that has a lot of people involved, and it's going to be launching in the next 2-3 weeks.
Okay. So
I
is
can't
it
say
an app or a game?
neither.
Okay.
It's a movement.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the future. No,
Okay.
There have been similar things done in America. Nothing really done here, but we're coming with force, and I think we're going to be making a lot of noise in Australia, in Melbourne in particular, but in Australia.
And can we expect it later in the year or earlier in the year?
No, it'll be April.
Ooh.
Yeah. You'll
Okay.
start seeing some things on Instagram, some like fire style marketing in the next sort of
Okay.
couple of weeks. And then, yeah, we'll go from there.
Fuck
And
it.
look, we could have gone much bigger with it. We could have gotten even bigger influences and stuff like that, but we wanted it to be genuine to begin with. So we've got who we've got, and I think the team that we've got is the best. So
I think I have a sense as to
think you
what's
know.
going on.
Yeah.
I think I know.
So-
But that's very exciting.
it's going to
if
be
it is
really
true.
cool. Yeah, and it's completely separate from PlaySide and from everything else in terms of they're not really connected in any way, what we're doing here, but it's through the esports. It's a joint venture with the esports guys, with Chris, and we'll see. You should definitely get Chris on here. If you want to talk about esports, he is the king of esports.
The host of the podcast. Yeah. That'd be good.
He's a genius when it comes to esports.
Because we had, do you know Jamie Scaller?
No.
He was like, he ran it, geez, what's the esports bar here?
G-Easy? Yeah.
EEGG or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I always fuck it up.
Yeah, me too.
And I remember it because I always fuck it up, which is
Yeah.
great branding.
Yeah.
But yeah, he started that bar. He's
Okay.
one of the co-founders, but he started the first Australian esports team.
Yep.
He went and started a massive blockchain project and then has moved on, and now he's going back into esports.
Yeah, I think Chris may have told me about him.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's awesome.
we'll have to chat to Chris and
He's
get him on
very,
for sure.
very smart. Yeah.
All right, we're about to clock an hour, so I want to jump into some short, fast questions to finish you off.
Hit me.
What does your morning routine look like?
Not like what every other entrepreneur looks like, where they wake up at 5 a.m., go to the gym, have a nice breakfast. I'll wake up at about 8:30.
Yeah.
Everyone at PlaySide starts at 9:30,
Okay.
and they finish at 5:30. It was mainly to do with just traffic. We work with Metro, so I can't go too much into why, but it's, there's a lot of problems in the morning that can make someone run half an hour to an hour late. So we tried to get them to come in try and get here at 9, but 9:30 is when it starts. And then I'll get in at 9:30. I'll be in and out with meetings. Now with the app stuff, which was with the games, I was at the studio the whole time, and I sort of started to get a bit itchy. Like I was a bit bored. Like I tried to remove myself a lot from being too involved with development. So now with the app stuff, it's great because I can go for meetings. I can meet other influencers and stuff like that. And I've had my hands full with this current thing that's going to launch. But yeah, I think that's the kind of morning routine. It's just get up at 8:30. Get dressed, have a shower, get dressed, go to work, and work my ass off.
And
But
no breakfast?
No breakfast.
No kick workout?
No kick workout because I probably die at that point. I can't do a kick workout at all, to be honest. But it's too much cardio for me. But I'll go to the gym. I'll go to the gym probably twice a week. I do PT with Dan PT, who does kick. He's a machine, so I go with him twice a week. I've been eating very healthy for the last couple of weeks, so we'll see how long that lasts.
Impressive.
Yeah. No more burgers and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of it. Like, there's nothing special about it. I'm not that, you need to wake up at 5 a.m. because when you wake up at 5 a.m., no
Gary
one's
V.
around. And man, it's just all bullshit, man. Like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Now, the evening, how do you decompress?
I love shisha, which is the hookah pipe. There's something about it where I think it's I don't want anyone to do this, by the way. I don't want to get people addicted to tobacco. I'm definitely not addicted anyway. It's a breathing thing, I think. So when you smoke shisha, it's like breathing in and breathing out. It seems to be the only thing that will relax me, because otherwise I won't do it myself. I haven't learned to meditate. I haven't done anything like that, which I'd still want to. I'd like to learn yoga and stuff like that. But at the moment, I'll sort of get home. Look, me and Susie are flat out. Her family is like 4,000 people in it. So there's always something on every night. We've obviously got mates as well outside of that. So there's always something on.
Yeah.
Would be good to maybe be home once or twice the week.
Okay.
So when we are home, it's usually that, just kicking back, having a shisha, playing Fortnite. And
there you go.
That's it, man. She's watching maths or some shit in the other room.
My mate the other day, we caught up with them and they were like, "Oh, do you watch maths?" I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" And then I'm like,
that's a good answer for you to have. Yeah.
I went on Twitter and everyone's talking about Married at First Sight, and I realized
it is poison.
Well, I was just thinking, like, why is he watching it, man? Like,
I do know the funny thing is, at work on Slack, I typed in one day, I'm like, does anyone here watch maths? And I swear, like 15 of the boys were like, yeah, we do. I'm like, oh my God, I knew it wasn't just me.
Wow.
Because the missus is watching it. So you're going to see it. And
yeah,
then
you're
you're
just
like,
going to
what's
watch
this?
it.
Who's this person? What's this? So yeah.
Well, it's like I roped Lauren into watching, have you seen the new F1 doco on Netflix?
No, the boys were saying today at work,
Holy
it's amazing.
shit, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, like, I was obsessed with F1 at like 10 to 15 years of age.
Yeah.
Sort of went away from it for a bit when David Coulthard retired and all that, and then got like just back into it now, and that doco really crystallized. It was amazing.
I want to watch it before Sunday, because I want to get like a good recap of last season, and I love Hamilton, so
you might want to crack on, man, because it's like 10 episodes, 60 minutes.
Oh, really? I thought it was just a one-off thing because they used to do like the one and out. Okay, mad.
It's really long.
Wow.
But it's really good. It's really good.
In on that shit.
My new favourite driver, Charles Leclerc.
Okay.
The young driver for Ferrari, and of course,
how old is
the
he?
Honey Badger himself. He'd be like 21, 22.
Yeah.
The youngest driver.
I saw someone
roster.
18 today or something.
Yeah. He's 19. He's he drives for McLaren.
McLaren, yeah.
God, what's his? I can't remember his last name. But anyway, it's the average age is 25. It's the youngest driving roster ever.
Wow.
Since 1950.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So it's going to be a few hotheads smashing into each other.
That's good.
Best purchase under $200.
Under 200.
Yeah.
Okay. As I'm sure you know, that's rare. Under $200. This is the thing. I need to change my mind. I'm just thinking fashion straight away, but there's just...
Well, Fortnite was free.
Fortnite was free. I mean, maybe it was some Fortnite skins. Nah, I think maybe World of Warcraft back in the day. I think the World of Warcraft game and the subscriptions, which were like $19 a month. So it was definitely more than 200 to sort of end up. But World of Warcraft, I think, changed how I thought about video games.
Right.
It was such a it was crazy how big it was back in the day, and it allowed me to sort of separate myself from real life and just chill out in Azeroth and kick it with my friends and go on quests and stuff. It was amazing, man.
Mine was Diablo. I used to go over to my mate Johnny Dickios, lived down in Bentley, just off South Road. I'd ride over from when we just moved to Brighton, and then we proceed to spend the next 12 hours playing Diablo? Switching each time.
Did you play Diablo 2?
I think it was Diablo 2, actually.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
The old Necromancer, that was my guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Diablo. Played them all.
Last question for you. If you could have a billboard anywhere in Australia, where would it be, first of all? Mm-hmm. So placement is key in this one. And then what would it say?
It would be on, the one in Fed Square, the light up one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd probably be there so everyone can see it. And I think actually, so this was a conversation we were all having the other night. I went away to Sorrento with Steph and Josh and Mitch and Chloe, and we were all about a minute away from going and getting a tattoo that said "me versus me." And the idea was that you kind of end up getting to a point where there's, like, as I said, Steve Jobs used to be, we came up with this because we were saying, who's your idol? And I was like, I actually don't have one anymore. And it's not in a cocky way. It's just that Steve Jobs was so powerful, and Elon Musk could be that. But for me, he just does a lot of stupid shit that makes it hard to sort of be really attached to him. And now that Jobs is not around, and now that I don't really look up to anyone, it's like I try and just better myself all the time.
Yeah.
And so this whole me versus me mentality is that every day you wake up and you don't think about, this happened on the weekend, Steve Jobs did this, or Elon Musk did this. It's like, I did this last week, so now this week I need to do this. Or last financial year we did this financial year I need to do this. And I think it's just that constant improvement of yourself, and it's everything. It's not just money, it's not just the company, it's life, it's getting healthier, it's everything.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the mentality for 2019, I reckon.
I love it. It's such a simple ethos as well. Me versus me.
Yep.
Love it. Look, Gerry,
Gerry.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Where can people find you and where can they find PlaySide?
Just at Gerry Sakkas on Instagram. And same, PlaySide Studios on Instagram. Keep it all on Instagram, nice and simple.
It's the platform to be.
Yeah, if anyone needs advice, anyone needs help, reach out. I'm not going to charge anything. I don't care about things like that. If I can help you with your business in any way, I'll do it.
Beautiful.
Too easy.
Thanks so much, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers. Thank you for making it to the end. Before you run off, we need your help to grow this audience. Subscribe on your podcast app. Subscribing will give you priority access and help your fellow-minded listeners find Uncommon, or consider sharing this with a friend who you think would enjoy these sorts of episodes, and this will go a very, very long way in helping us build the audience. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and Twitter, or consider subscribing on YouTube as well. You just need to search for Neurale, Neurale, or consider following us on Instagram as well by searching Uncommon, UNCOMMON. But until next time, thank you so much for listening.